What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Watch This video. Happy Wednesday. Sorry for the late video. I'm going to try to make this a quicker video. Pretty decently boring day in the market today, right? Some stuff was on the move, and a lot of names moving back up on my list. But once the after hour session hit, you got tons of software and cybersecurity names making big moves, as well as the king, Nvidia, with an almost 5% gap up. Love to see it, right? The pre-market will be super interesting tomorrow. I'll probably add a few more things to my list, most likely in the pre-market. Decipher some things out, whatever. But you got the QQQ gapping up 1%, right back through the 50, and the 20-day right about at about 718, 719 right here in the after hours, right? Super nice to see, right? Maybe a positive expectation breaker tomorrow. You got an inside day today, and kind of rejecting the 50, towards the end of the day, but the gap and push is super interesting. As well as obviously I talked about how the software stuff's up. The IGV had a gap down today and got bought up immediately. Super nice candle, right? I mean, dude, this thing looks so good, but you're getting a big gap up from all of the earnings gap ups. So that's super interesting as well. We'll see. Don't know if I really want to chase a gap up, but maybe notice the gap up, look at the best looking charts, wait for the washout, and then go for those ones. That's probably what I'll most likely be doing, but we'll see. Like I said, the pre-market will be super interesting as well. Going over the indexes, the SPY, 4 inside days, and now we're getting a push to 770 through these, quadruple inside days. I don't think I've ever seen the S&P 500 this tight. This is very, very tight, and now we're getting a gap up on Nvidia. Like we're getting the catalyst on Nvidia earnings. It's funny how all of the stocks that have been leading pretty much all reported the same day, right? All the software stuff, not everything, but a lot of them, right? Software and cybersecurity all reporting now. It's like they wanted this to happen. So, and we're getting the big gap up. Super interesting. We'll see what can make of that in the morning. Like I said, still think it's best to sit and do nothing right now because the setups are barely showing up. Right, names still not really falling through in the best way yet. But like I said, maybe a positive expectation breaker tomorrow. Things can change, and maybe everything and all that can change tomorrow. We'll see how some of the gap ups look. Like I said, I don't want to be just jumping into chasing a gap up, but I'll see how we open, maybe get a little bit of a washout and some stuff and then go for stuff. But I don't want to be chasing names straight into supply, right? Okta with a 20% gap up, CRM with a 12% gap up, CrowdStrike with a 10% gap up, VEEV, another software name with a 10% gap up. You got AXTI up, TENB, a software name, NTNX, NBIS. All these things are slowly moving higher. Right? I also specifically like this NBIS. It's pushing back above that 50-day, and maybe pushes back out of the pivot, right? The weekly chart doesn't look the worst. And I mean, you can even look at the NASDAQ and same thing, right? You get a push back through here. Maybe not the worst looking weekly chart. Maybe just back through the 50, maybe builds itself out a few days or something, or gives us a nice push and then builds itself out. I think a lot of charts would set up in a very big way if that happens. So I'd be super, super interesting, right? Like I said, I'll be super interested to see the pre-market tomorrow. I think it'll be super important. Don't want to say it too much, right? Not a bad day as far as breadth, right? Practically a nothing burger, but we'll see how tomorrow closes after the big gap up. Like, will we hold strong? Will a lot of names be up? Will we get like a big gap, a little bit of a washout, and then a big continuation? Same thing with Pradeep's, maybe a little bit of a better one, but practically a nothing burger day. Kind of just your average day. Let's go through the futures here real fast. I'm going to try to make this super, super quick. So bear with me. The Kospi, a little bit of a gap up here, right? The NQ, like I talked about, you get your QQQ gap up, NQ, same thing, back through the 50. It's nice to see super tight double inside day, and we're pushing out of that. So interesting. Gold, a little bit heavy today, almost like a bearish engulfing. I did get short NUGT, right? I was going to go with GDX or one of the gold miners, but I just figured I'd go with the 2X. ETF, this is getting a little bit of a gap up tomorrow, so most likely going to have to cut this at the open. But nonetheless, it was a little bit heavy today on the gold side, so we'll see where we open up tomorrow. I thought it was a good short. Went into the close about 3% cushion. So, if I have to cut it for a small loss, is what it is. Break even. Who knows? ES, another one, right? Super tight. You're slowly moving out of this tightness, right? You had an inside day back to the 20-day, and now you're getting a gap up in the after hours. We'll see how it holds in the morning. Russell super tight, almost still looks like a bear flag. But if everything's breaking out, I wouldn't be surprised to see this breaking out as well. The dollar, right, getting a little bit of rally because you're getting a little bit of a cool off inside of that gold. Not surprising there. And Bitcoin digesting in a super nice way, getting super tight under that pivot. If you flip to an hourly chart, you can see how tight this thing is really getting. So super interesting there. And definitely something I want to continue to keep an eye on, right? Ethereum, same thing, building a super nice flag. It looks awesome. It acted awesome today. And then crude oil with the wedge drop yesterday and kind of just a rejection of the 20-day. Don't see too much going on here, but I will say that the oil group is still acting fine, and there's still some names in that area acting good, right? Speaking of Nvidia gapping up the after hours, SMH also at 569, almost 570 in the after hours. We'll see if it can get back above the 1020, have a nice closing day, and then we'll see how it acts. I don't want to see it gap right into this big gap and then reject. I want to see us close strong or push strong into that area and hold strong. We'll have to see, right? I saw Marvell Obviously gapping up in the after hours, but overall last 2 days it's been acting awesome. Putting the inside day today, but it's pushing the after hours. Another one where it's like, I don't know if I'll be trying to buy this one. No real tightness, and it's just gapping up tomorrow. This is a gap up where I'll be iffy about really even trying to go for it. SMTC, another semiconductor name with a really nice day today. SIMO, right? It's below the 50, but it's starting to build itself out in a nice way, and it had an awesome day today. And then Micron, another one. 974 in the after hours. Looks like it's trying to move its way back through the 50-day, right? Inside day super tight, and now you're pushing out. We'll see. I don't think I'll go for these ones, but I want to continue to keep an eye on these ones. They're extremely liquid, and the semiconductors are so important. We need them to join us in order to get this rally really kicked off. Cyber ETF, right? You're right back under that pivot, right off the 50-day, super strong day today. I feel like some of these names, like I hesitated on a service now today, but you get the big gap down. Maybe that was a spot to, take a position. And in some of these other names, right? I think it was Okta actually is a bad example because yes, I talked about an undercut and rally yesterday, gave it perfectly, but I mean, you see the big gap down and the push through. Yeah, maybe you buy it, but then you sit on absolutely nothing all day, and then the last 5 minutes of the day it rips 5%. Like what are the odds of that? So interesting to say at least. I like the gap ups. We'll have to see, where they open up tomorrow, and maybe these things will be viable the next few days if they can give a setup, high volume close, whatever it may be. But you got some bases possibly being broken out of here, like on Okta and plenty of the other ones, right? But this group overall, like FTNT, nice day today, pushing out of the 4 super tight days. Talked about Okta, CrowdStrike, a big gap in the after hours. PanW, right at the 50 today, kind of rejecting it just barely, but now you're getting to push back through it. So it's interesting. It's nice to see that expectation breaker day of a catalyst gapping everything up. Okay, enough of that group. I've talked about it too much. Mags, inside day today. Nvidia's up in the after hours. This thing's gapping up at the after hours, right? Amazon, honestly, I won't lie, a shitty range, but nonetheless, if the group's going to be going, I will watch it over the prior day high. Weekly chart still is just low volume pullback inside week. What if we close strong here? I wouldn't mind this weekly chart. I think it looked pretty good. So I will see if this thing gets to pick up tomorrow through the prior day high. I just want to continue to keep an eye on this. It's not giving up too much yet, but at the same time, I don't really like this range. So it's not on the list, but it's a name I'm going to continue to keep an eye on. Microsoft, right? I would throw it on the list. It is acting fine, but we'll have to see. I think it looks good. I had a super nice push day. Really, this is a name that I honestly could throw on the list. It's acting a hell of a lot better than the Amazon. And the weekly chart looks fine. Just, you see the weekly chart, you get a big move up, and 2 weeks of digestion, maybe it needs more. So I'd just like to see it build out under this pivot, or just maybe another move up and then build out under this pivot. Just needs to continue to build out. I didn't really like this higher low spot, but it did give it to you. And it's acting awesome from there, and it's showing awesome relative strength. So definitely something to continue to keep an eye on. In that group in general, definitely want to keep an eye on. XBI, what a beautiful inside day today. This chart is looking awesome. I still own Moderna, and with the inside day today, I think looks awesome. Another one where, it's on the list. And through today's highs, maybe I can add to this thing again. And if you don't own it, maybe you can get involved in it, right? You look at an hourly chart getting super tight under this, so like 160 area. And then the inside day today looks awesome. I think this name is most likely going to go to $200. Who knows? If it doesn't, worst case scenario is planned out for it, and I'll get stopped out. But nonetheless, the chart is looking pretty good on this Moderna. They just cured cancer. Don't want to talk about it too much. ArcG, inside day, right twist. Still acting fine, right? Inside day looks like it wants to move higher. Guardian, this is a name I bought today. I picked this one up through the prior day's high, right? Right off that opening push, I got this name. So, about a 10% position. I was able to close this one, or, I was able to hold this one in the close with about 3% cushion, which I'm happy with. And I really like the way it closed, and you got like a cup with handle type base, right? Pretty deep handle there, but nonetheless, building a base. Give us an inside day or two, or just push out of the pivot. Maybe I can see myself adding a little bit more onto us, 3 to 5% add onto the position, right? I don't want to add any more than what I already own. We'll have to see. It probably would go for like a 3%, but want to continue to keep an eye on this stuff. TXG, another one, still looks fine, right? It's digesting in a nice way. It looks awesome. TEM, I threw it on the list. Man, this name looks awesome. I really wish it was something on my list yesterday to pick up. I just didn't really see an area to buy it off of, really, but it is looking awesome, and you get an inside day today. I will watch this thing above today's highs as a spot, right? The weekly chart, you got a nice inside week. It's digesting out of the base perfectly. Let it build the first flag here. I wouldn't be mad if this thing continued to build a range here for the next week or two. Building that first flag out of the base, I think would be awesome. But the way this thing's been acting and the group it's in, I want to stock this thing every day and just keep a close eye on it. It is acting awesome. And then I saw CRISPR as well with an inside day right under a nice base. But this name, the chart history of this name is not very good, right? It doesn't trade that well. So if it can break out of the base, that'll be interesting. But it's a name I just want to keep an eye on. ANF, huge gap up today. right out of a big base, right out of a big pivot, right? Love this. You got, I think Victoria's Secret does report tomorrow, but I talked about this one last night and it had a nice push out today. Interesting spot right through the prior day's high, right through that pivot area. But ANF, man, beautiful big gap up. And high volume close setup to me is looking like it can get started through today's close. This thing stayed strong all day. And I mean, it just, this is a big guy. I don't know what the news was. Maybe I should have paid a little bit more attention to that. But nonetheless, I see a high volume close setup for tomorrow. I think it looks awesome. And even if it doesn't work or this name goes sideways for a few days, it's a name to continue to keep an eye on. It just broke out of a big base. So I like it. And I want to keep an eye on this. And then, this is obviously a monster power earnings gap with an almost an OEL, right? And then I talked about Victoria's Secret. Another random name on the move, LITE. Man, this thing it's shaping up a little bit better, right? The LYTE ETF doesn't look too bad. A lot of these names in the holdings don't look too good. AXTI up a little bit in the after hours. Not anything too much. But the LITE, man, this thing's shaping up in a nice way. Nothing else, though, really looks that good. So maybe the group can wake up while this thing continues to build out a setup. I don't know. I don't trust enough to put on the list yet, but it is shaping up in a nice way. ANET, I saw was another one that had a really nice move. This name didn't even lose the 50-day, and it's already getting going with a big move today. I want to continue to keep an eye on it. It definitely trades not the best as far as its chart history, but it's acting awesome. NTAP was another one in that similar group where you get an undercut and rally of your 20-day. So interesting. Want to keep an eye on it. Don't see anything right now to be buying these ones, but I want to keep an eye on them. HP is another one, right? You get the super big tightness right at the 20-day and then you push out today. And Dell, another one. I talked about these ones as like maybe a higher low to push out of it, and it did do that. I didn't buy them though because I didn't have that much confidence in them. Looked like more, I couldn't tell if they were going to break down or they were going to push higher, but eventually they did push higher. So but you're right back at the pivot. So maybe an inside day or two or a push through this 470 level. I will watch it. It looks like it's gapping up in the hour after hours of 472. I will not be chasing a gap up on this Dell, but I will see how it pulls back in if it gets a washout in the morning, and then we'll see and we can go from there. SMCI is another one in that group where you get a super nice inside day. I did throw this on the list because maybe this is something I could be buying through Tuesday's highs or today's highs depending on where it gaps up, but we'll see. I think overall, right, you got a double inside week developing on this name, right? It is a pretty big laggard with a ton of overhead supply, but it's a name where the action off the earnings gap up is acting nice and it's building a nice little flag here. So want to just continue to keep an eye on this name. I like the way it's building up. I like how the relative strength is slowly growing and it looks not too bad, right? I talked about the oil and gas stuff, not going to go over it too much. XLP, XLE, really nice bar stay around the 20-day, right? PBF is still acting fine, right? Got bought back up. DK pushing out of a little bit of a pivot. Dino, another one pushing down to a pivot, and then VLO is just building sideways. Doesn't look too bad, right? This group's still acting fine. I'm going to go through my watch list here. ANF, high volume close setup through today's close. Circle, I spoke about Bitcoin. Man, PURR, I don't want to go for a PURR. Because it's just too far from its 50-day. It's 7 ATRs from the 50, but man, this circle, right? Only 4 ATRs from the 50-day and inside day today. Hopefully it doesn't just push without me, but man, I really love this chart. And for those that got this thing off the 200-day yesterday, great work. This chart is really, it's really proven itself in an awesome way, and the group is really waking up, and Bitcoin looks like a flag, Ethereum looks like a flag. I love this inside day. I want to continue to monitor this one over today's highs. Will be super interesting, but I just can't see myself going for an ETHA just yet or an IBIT, right? Just too extended from the 50-day, 8 ATRs from the 50. ETHA, same thing, 10 ATRs from the 50. Would rather let them pull in, build a real setup, build a higher low setup, but for now, Circle still looks fine. So who knows? Maybe this thing can get going. Dell, like I talked about, give us a day or two of inside, which we're getting a push out, so that's probably not going to happen, but we'll see how it pushes out and then maybe pulls back in the morning, and I'll go from there. Frog, another one where it's like you're getting a gap in the after hours, but man, you got a double inside week. This thing is acting awesome. I want to continue to keep an eye on this base it's building, and it's in an awesome group. GH through the pivot, maybe add a little bit on. Nonetheless, another weekly chart looks awesome. It's building a base, it's in a great group and looks good. Hinge, same thing, building a base in a great group. Yes, did have a upper wick today, not my favorite, but imagine the inside day tomorrow or just a push through the pivot and this thing just completely breaks out, right? Kind of rejecting that prior pivot. So not bad. It's definitely getting tight here and it's building an overall base. I want to continue to keep an eye on this name. I think it looks pretty good, but man, Eli Lilly, this thing, I tried it today, or I got stopped out today in the first 10 minutes of the day, and then I watched the big flush happen. I bought it right off the 50-day. I thought I had the perfect spot. I had literally like a, 1,180 bucks or something like that, and I thought I had the exact bottom right up the 50-day, and it had an awesome push, and it gave everything back, man. I don't want to see that. So even if you catch the exact lows on some of these names, they're still coming back on you. Not the best feedback for sure. But you know, it's not on my list because it acted so heavy today. MongoDB, you're getting a gap up in the after hours. I love the weekly chart on this thing. It's developing a really nice, low volume pullback, and nonetheless, just watch out trades the next few days. But it's gapping up to 415. I don't know if I chase that, but we'll see if it gets a washout. Maybe 620 setup right off the 20 day or something like that. Undercut right out of the 20 doesn't look too bad. Moderna over today's highs. Name I own. It looks awesome. Marvell. I threw this on the list. It's something I want to just continue to keep an eye on, but it's not something I'm going to trade. So honestly, I'm just going to take it off the list here now because I don't see a setup on it for tomorrow. But I want to continue to keep an eye on Microsoft. Looks awesome. Maybe give us an inside day. Which, another one where it's like a lot of stuff's pushing out. So we might not get that super tight day. Might just be a big gap up, washout, and then we go for them. ServiceNow, man, this thing, I regret not buying off the 20 day. What a great spot. But it's building a super nice range and it's trying to push out of that range. So one, I'm going to watch tomorrow at that pivot area. And one I just want to continue to keep an eye on. It's got an inside week, and it looks pretty good. Okta, big gap in the after hours. Of course, I'm going to be paying attention to this thing. I'm going to be paying attention to CrowdStrike, and super interesting. Palantir, man, it's in the right group, and it's building an awesome range. Maybe it was a one that was viable today at the bottom of the range if you really wanted that undercut and rally. I saw that happen, but I kind of just let it go. But nonetheless, this chart is still in a range. It's building a perfect range and a break through the range, and I would love to buy this name. This is one of the very few names that I'd buy through the top of the range, right? SMCI, talked about this over the prior day high. I'll watch it. TEM, want to continue to keep an eye on this name. And Zeta, gap up in the after hours, but it's just building a flag in a super nice way, and it's got an inside week. So, and it's in a great group, right? Continue to keep an eye on the best looking charts in the strongest looking groups, and maybe we can have some stuff that's buyable if we get an expectation breaker day. But don't want to be chasing that gap up too much, more so waiting for the washout to happen, looking at the best looking charts, maybe an inside day or just an overall chart that just looks the best in the morning, and then we can go from there, right? Excited to see the open after all these earnings, and we'll see if the gap up on certain stuff can be viable / waiting for the washout, right? Like I said, I don't want to be chasing the hell out of a gap up into supply, right? I'll wait for the washout, go for the best looking names and the market and the groups that are moving together. And when the market's moving up after the washout, that's what I want to be going for. Maybe 5 to 10% size for now until things can improve. And then I can look at a top idea and drop 20% size on it, or be comfortable taking multiple 10, 15 size percent positions. But until then, I will catch you all tomorrow. Have a great night. Appreciate you all for watching. Peace.